Even the most durable systems fracture when two equal and opposite forces pull on the same point simultaneously. At a surface level, the biblical legal code contains this exact mechanical tension. It frequently issues commands that, when read literally, appear to pull the practitioner in two directions at once. One such tension appears in Deuteronomy chapter 15, verse 19. The text gives an explicit instruction regarding firstborn livestock. You shall consecrate all male firstlings. However, Leviticus chapter 27, verse 26, contains an explicit prohibition of that same act. One shall not consecrate it. Without an external framework to compile these instructions, the reader is left with a set of conflicting commands that cannot be followed simultaneously. The 11th century commentator Rashi approaches these contradictions using a specific hermeneutic engine designed to resolve these logical gaps. We will deconstruct three specific algorithms Rashi utilizes: contradiction resolution, syntactic bounding, and semantic reattribution. Reading the source text without this architecture results in a stalemate where neither command can be fulfilled. Returning to the collision between Deuteronomy and Leviticus, the problem remains. An owner is told to sanctify a firstborn animal, yet refrain from doing so. The resolution depends on the specific application of the Hebrew word Hekdesh, consecrate. Rashi's first method limits the category of the action itself. Leviticus forbids an owner from sanctifying the firstborn as a different type of sacrifice, such as a burnt offering. Its status is already fixed by the law of the firstborn. Deuteronomy, however, establishes a declarative duty. The owner must verbally acknowledge the animal's inherent status. Rashi explains that the owner fulfills the command by saying, "Thou art holy as a firstborn." This verbal recognition satisfies the requirement in Deuteronomy without violating the restrictions in Leviticus. Rashi uses the tension in the text to define the limits of each legal category. The two verses now describe separate, non-conflicting obligations. Rashi offers a second resolution to this same paradox, shifting the focus from verbal declaration to financial equity. This method employs the concept of Hekdesh Ilui, the dedication of an object's monetary value rather than its physical body. In this model, an owner dedicates the monetary value of the animal to the temple treasury, while the physical animal remains untouched. The act of consecrating the value fulfills Deuteronomy, while the physical animal remains available for its designated purpose on the altar, satisfying Leviticus. This relies on the legal separation of Tovat Hana'ah, the benefit value, from the physical object. Brief pause. Property law and sacrificial law manage two different aspects of the same animal. Rashi harmonizes the system by splitting the text into these parallel tracks of physical and financial status. In Deuteronomy 15:21, the text introduces a new rule: an animal with a blemish cannot be sacrificed. The verse lists lameness and blindness, then adds a broader category, any ill blemish. This creates a question of scope. Does this include temporary ailments or minor imperfections? Rashi applies a specific hermeneutic formula to this sentence: u-Prat, u-Klal, general, particular, general. The verse starts with blemish, which is a broad, general term. It follows this with two particular examples, lame or blind. Finally, it returns to a general conclusion, any ill blemish. This syntax dictates that the general terms are restricted to the shared characteristics of the particular examples. Because lameness and blindness are visible and permanent, the law only excludes animals with defects that share those two properties. A transitory illness does not meet this criteria. This structural rule uses the syntax of the verse itself to provide a rigid bounding box for otherwise open-ended terms. Now, the text shifts its focus away from the technicalities of sacrificial law to the broader historical narrative of the Exodus. Deuteronomy 16:3 mandates the eating of unleavened bread, or lechem oni, during the Passover sacrifice. The stated reason for this practice is that the Israelites left Egypt in haste, or Chipazon. Readers often assume this haste describes the panic of the Israelites as they fled. Rashi identifies a different subject for this haste by cross-referencing Exodus chapter 12, verse 33. That passage notes that Egypt was urgent upon the people, pressing them to leave immediately. Rashi reattributes the haste. It was not the Israelites who were panicking, it was the Egyptians who were desperate to expel them. The unleavened bread becomes a monument to a divine deliverance, so sudden that it forced the hand of the captors themselves. These 3 passages, covering firstborns, blemishes, and Passover, show a text that requires a high degree of integration to function. The resolution of each verse depends on this interconnected network of cross-references and logical rules. Rashi resolves logical collisions by establishing distinct legal categories. He uses mathematical syntax to provide objective definitions for subjective terms, and he reattributes semantic subjects to clarify the historical narrative. His commentary serves as the linking software between the written law and the oral tradition that interprets it. Without this exegetical architecture, the reader encounters only the surface tension of the text, missing the underlying logic that holds the system together.